Chris Daukaus opening up as a minus 140 favorite against the Black Beast Derrick Lewis. Now, we were talking about building up prospects. We were talking about fast-tracking prospects. AJ, you get a knockout win over Parker Porter, Rogerio Nascimento, Alexei Oleinik, and Shamil Abdurakhimov. You knocked them all out within first round for the first three. It was a second-round TKO for the last one in Abdurakhimov, and then you get fed the Black Beast. I'm not even hating here because it's all love for the Daukaus brother, especially Chris Daukaus. But this seems to be a little bit of a jump up in competition, a little too much of a jump up in competition. Like Derrick Lewis, like you get the dude who is clearly solidified in that number 3 spot. Like, yeah, you might not be able to get past Gane. You might not be able to get past. Well, he did beat Francis already, so you know what I mean. But was that a fight? I don't know what we call that. But basically, so we're clearly in that number 3 spot. Nobody below number 3 really has a good chance of beating you. Curtis Blades tried. He got knocked out into oblivion. Come on. So they say, okay, we'll give you Chris Daukaus. What is the thought process behind this? If he wins, he's a star. He's an absolute star if he wins, especially if he can knock out Derrick Lewis. But if he loses, isn't that kind of the same thing you were talking about, where it takes a little bit of sizzle off of that, fighter that you have? What do you think?
I agree with you, man. I love this fight. Like, for a Daukaus fan, and I'm actually, it's hard to say whether I'm more of a Daukaus fan or more of a Derrick Lewis fan. I love them both. I love the style of Chris Daukaus. I love the style of Derrick Lewis. This is going to be a very interesting fight. Hard to choose either way for me. The heartstrings are pulled both directions. But, man, what does it do for Chris Daukaus? Great things if he wins. Not necessarily the best things if he loses, man. He kind of sizzles out. He sits in that middle position of like, okay, and it's kind of the problem with what we're having with the heavyweight division is that upper elite, those top 3, they're kind of just mixing them up between each other. And then everyone else below that is just fighting for a chance to maybe fight one of those top 3 and not necessarily has a solidified 1 through 10. It's a very packed 1 through 3, and then it's a kind of a mix-em up after that, kind of who can go where and who fights best that single night. A little rough. I would have honestly preferred a little bit slower of a path. I know I was talking shit before, but I would have preferred a little bit of a slower path that Tom Aspinall is taking to Chris Daukaus, because if he loses, man, and it's the same thing exactly happened to his brother Kyle, where he was winning, and then I believe it was Phil Hawes took him out. I could be wrong. I don't have the notes in front of me. But, once he had that one loss, he kind of just sizzled out a little bit and became a middle-of-the-pack fighter, and that's what we don't want to see happen to the Daukaus bros going forward, man. Yeah. Very interesting fight. Going to see how this unfolds. I do think Chris Daukaus has the style to get it done. He's a little bit lighter, a little bit more of that new breed that we've been seeing, which Derrick Lewis has a little bit of trouble with. But all you need is the pinky from the Black Beast, and this dude is going to sleep.
Well, that's kind of my thought process on why I'm surprised that Lewis is a plus 120 underdog here, because I'm just like, so y'all just forgot. Y'all forgot what this man is capable of. He loses a fight against Ciryl Gane, who is clearly that pinnacle of the hybrid heavyweight, who is giving everybody trouble. Everybody that is saying, Ciryl Gane can't get past this guy, he just gets past everybody. And not only did he get past Derrick Lewis, man, he stopped him. But then again, it also seemed a little fishy, that stoppage. And don't get me wrong, it's not like Gane wasn't putting it on him, but I don't know if it was a knuckle in the eye or something, but it looked like Derrick Lewis was reacting to like an eye poke, or like just that knuckle hit him in his eye and he turned his back. He completely turned his back to Ciryl Gane, and that led to Gane putting a couple more shots on him and them calling the fight. But it wasn't a dink, Derrick Lewis, he's out. It wasn't one of those. So still, is Chris Daukaus as fast as Ciryl Gane? No. Is Chris Daukaus as elite of a fighter as Ciryl Gane? No. Is Chris Daukaus a very entertaining man who uses a lot of flurries to open up and smash his opponents? Yes. Is he as fast as a middleweight? Yes. I think so, man. I think he got that middleweight, light heavyweight speed. Does he have that heavyweight crack and power? Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So there's a lot of good things going, in my opinion. Now, you might push back. There's a lot of good things, in my opinion, going for Chris Daukaus in this fight against Lewis. But to look at the Gane fight and say, Chris Daukaus is just going to emulate what Ciryl Gane did, I think that's completely nullifying what Derrick Lewis has done in his career and negating the fact that Ciryl Gane, let's not forget, he was running for his life in that cage when Derrick Lewis was closing in on him in those early rounds. So One thing that I've noticed about Chris Daukaus, AJ, and please give me your feedback on this one, he takes shots and he needs to open up to really get the job done. So you'll see oftentimes, man, it's not one shot, two shots that does it. It's 4, 5, 6, 7 shots. If you look at his significant strikes landed per minute, it's 9.03 at a 53% clip. High volume striker. And when he got Shamil Abdurakhimov, he was kind of getting, how would you say? He was fighting a Abdurakhimov's fight in that fight until he got the KO. So we really saw once that kind of higher level of competition came, the success of Chris Daukaus stalled just a little bit. It was a much slower paced fight. Do you have any pushback on what I just said? Do you think there's anything that needs to be analyzed in my assessment of Chris Daukaus into this matchup?
No, I agree with you. I do think he has the style in which to get things done. Maybe he's not that elite, just like
Cyril Gane?
Cyril Gane, thank you, Cyril Gane. But he's very much right there. He's that same kind of style of fighter that has the advantage of Derrick Lewis. The problem against that is Derrick Lewis is an absolute warhorse. Like, this dude can just take anything you can throw at him. And the problem with the style that Daukaus has in those punches, in those 7, 8, 9 punches combinations, that's where you leave yourself open. And that's exactly what we saw against Derrick Lewis and not Alexei Olenek, with the tall dude.
What, Volkov?
Volkov. Yes, Derrick Lewis Volkov, where he kind of opens himself up and then just gets cracked over the ear one time, and it's all over. And that's the scary part about Derrick Lewis, man, is that he's never out of it. Literally till that last bell or till you put him to sleep, this dude can always come back and hit you harder than you hit him, and then he can eat them all. Dude, he literally, body shots, chin shots, doesn't really matter. Derrick Lewis can handle it all and handle his business. It's just, I do agree with you that the style of Chris Daukaus leads you to think like, oh, this guy can get it done. I can see why he's the favorite going forward, even if it's not necessarily as justified or as blatant, black and white on paper as you would think.
Well, let's not forget that Francis Ngannou was afraid to let his hands go. And I'm using that word very carefully and gently. He was afraid to let his hands go against Derrick Lewis because that's how much of a threat in the hands Derrick Lewis has. His power is ridiculous. Arguably, it's Ngannou, Lewis. And some people would have that switch. Some people would say it's Lewis and Ngannou, which is a crazy thing to even fathom. But nonetheless, that's how astronomical this man's power is, right? So with that being said, if Francis Ngannou was a little afraid to let his hands go against Derrick Lewis, I would imagine that Chris Daukaus is going to need to be very careful because all it takes is one. Like you said, it just takes the pinky. You just land it, just clip him a little bit. Let's not forget, when Derrick Lewis uppercutted Curtis Blades into oblivion, he hit him with his wrist. It wasn't even his hand, man. He hit him with the wrist. Just, sleep, done, So I just think that in this spot, 79-inch reach, 3-inch reach advantage for Derrick Lewis over Daukaus. This is kind of like Ngannou versus Miocic in a way, right? In a tiny way, in the way where if Daukaus could stay on the outside and just tap up Derrick Lewis for 5 rounds, he's going to win the fight. But what did it take from Ngannou? One left hook. That was it. And then Miocic was done. So I just think that for Chris Daukaus, you have to play it safe for 5 whole rounds. For Derrick Lewis, you just need to land one. I like the odds there. However, we said the same thing against Cyril Gane, and Cyril Gane got the job done. But Cyril Gane, once again, he was much more careful in rounds 1 and 2, where he was running away from Derrick Lewis when things got into that hot spot. Once he started picking him apart and getting his confidence, then he was like, oh, okay, I'll stand right in front of you. Da-da-da-da-da. But then again, Cyril Gane, with that kind of bouncy style that he uses, he's also able to evade, I think, a lot better than Chris Daukaus, who is kind of more flatter, trying to just kind of smash, I think that this is a great proving opportunity for Chris Daukaus, but I just think that Derrick Lewis, it's like, bro, we can't forget what the man has done. I know recency bias. We've been talking about it all show. But number 3 in the world, a dude who just challenged for the interim heavyweight championship, a man who I can't tell you number 3, 4, or 5 would be able to get the job against Lewis, and I definitely think number 7 is going to be a tough run for his money. So give me your opinion, though, man. What can Chris Daukaus truly do? In a very quick synopsis, a couple of sentences, what is his path to victory here against Derrick Lewis? Obviously, it's not going to be what Cyril Gane did because Cyril Gane is the only Cyril Gane in the sport right now. But what can he do to actually get the job done?
I think Chris Daukaus has to get it done fast and get it done early, my man. Literally just put it on him and not let Derrick Lewis have the moments of where he feels comfortable. Because Derrick Lewis feels comfortable shelling up, taking the shots, and then just coming back with the crazy one. let's not forget that Derrick Lewis is very, very fast
Yeah.
and quick with the kicks as well. Like he's very deceiving in the fact that you think this big boy can't move, but this big boy is very, very fast.
Yeah.
So if Chris Daukaus is able to kind of get things going quick and not let Derrick Lewis have that little bit of advantage or a little bit of momentum going forward, I think that's his best way to get it done. I do see it happening on the feet. And if Chris Daukaus can work the wrestling, even better. But I don't really see that coming forward, man. I think Chris Daukaus is just going to walk him down, put the hands to work, get things done. Whether, honestly, I don't necessarily see this one being finished. Both these guys can finish each other, but I think it's going to be hard. Obviously, 31 KOs combined, it's a very high possibility that someone's going to sleep in this fight. But I think because there's so much of that going into this. I think if it goes to a KO, it's a coin toss. Either one of these boys can knock each other out. We might not see that happen, but if it goes to points, I give the gas tank advantage and the output advantage to Daukaus. But man, Lewis, just you can't forget that one-touch KO power. That's the only and it's a big asterisk. It's a massive asterisk that's saying that this guy, the gas tank is out there. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man, is that I think that Chris Daukaus will have the better gas tank throughout 5 rounds, but Derrick Lewis maintains his power all 5 rounds. We saw that in the Volkov fight, man. All it takes is one throughout the entire fight. The entire 5 rounds, you get hit once, it's going to be game over. So basically, what it comes down to here, my man, is an ultra-powerful striker versus more of the hybrid, the new age of heavyweights, and a loss against Derrick Lewis does not drop Chris Daukaus' stock substantially whatsoever, because I could tell you 25 other people who have lost to Derrick Lewis as well. This is nothing new. Let's not forget the man also, and it's a lot of let's not forget because there's a lot of recency bias, but let's not forget Derrick Lewis, didn't he break the knockout record in the UFC this year, right? 20 knockouts. I think he's the leader in the heavyweight division. Come on. So it would be real lame if this fight went to a decision, being that it was marketed as 31 combined KO. Somebody better go to sleep. And the over and under is 1.5 rounds. So AJ, it's time to go official. Last pick of 2021, brother. Over and under, who wins, why, 1.5 rounds. You go, brother. Who do you got?
I'm going contrarian with this one, Derek. I'm going with the over, man. I think we might see not as much of a boring fight as we did with Derrick Lewis, Francis Ngannou, number 1. But, man, I think both of these fighters with the ability that both of them can knock your clock off literally all the way into the 12th row, I think there's going to be a little bit more cause for concern, a little bit of pause going forward, man. And like I said, if it ends between the buzzers, this one's a coin toss for me. But I think it's going to decision. I'm giving it to Daukaus, man.
Okay.
As much as I think at the beginning of the year, I said Derrick Lewis is going to be champion. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Black Beast, man. And I'm going with the Daukaus bros on this one. I just think it's going to be a lot weirder and harder of a fight than anyone can predict. That's why I'm going with decision. I think it's going to come down to points, man. What about you? Who are you going with and why?
I'm sticking to what got me here in the first place, man. I'm going with the man who I think is the better fighter overall, more experienced fighter, and I'm not going to, like with Ciryl Gane, yeah, that was the shiny new toy who actually proved I'm not just a shiny new toy. I'm here for real, right? Chris Daukaus, this is clearly the biggest fight of his entire career. This is the biggest step up in competition of his entire career. And let's not forget, Derrick Lewis's last 5. Ciryl Gane, Curtis Blades, Alexei Oleinik, Ilir Latifi, Blagoy Ivanov. All ranked fighters, you know what I'm saying, except Ilir Latifi, but he used to be ranked. And I'll just say, my man, that's pretty impressive. He has wins over Francis Ngannou as well. So like I said, man, it's like this dude has fought literally the best in the heavyweight division. He's fought everybody there is to fight, more or less. And this is not something new that Derrick Lewis is going to be seeing. And he has a little bitter taste in his mouth after that last loss to Ciryl Gane, especially getting finished. He's only been finished 5 times in his career. Chris Daukaus has been finished twice, so he's one of those live by the knockout, die by the knockout. I expected fireworks in this fight. I'm going Derrick Lewis, brother. And I'm actually going to go the over 2, but I still think someone's going to sleep. I just think it's going to take place probably round 3, maybe early round 4. We know Derrick Lewis can be patient, right? Very low volume, patient. But if it only takes 1, you got 5 rounds to do it. Why rush your work, right? So I'm going to go over on that one. I'm picking the Black Beast. I said it in the beginning of the year. I think the man's going to do scary things. 1 loss doesn't change that. I think a big win here. He's still in that number 3 spot. And now you just got to play that row of, all right, you got John Jones, who's not in the rankings, but one of these days he should be fighting a heavyweight, right? Ciryl Gane, Francis Ngannou is going to be a mixture between those 4. And let's not forget Stipe Miocic, man. Put some respect on the damn man's name. This was the GOAT of the heavyweight division. division, who I guess nobody cares about anymore. But I'd still like to see a Derrick Lewis versus Stipe Miocic fight. I think that'd be a fun fight too. Either way, that is the pick right there, folks. So if you enjoyed the picks, not just today, but for the entirety of the year, drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. That was your main card right there.